Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 2 of The Caster's Curse. We just got back from an insane weekend in Boston. I'm joined by Jacob MVPR and our special and first ever guest to The Caster's
Oh
Curse,
my god.
Guy Blaze Spencer. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining me. I hope y'all got some sleep after the event. I hope you're all well rested. It took me a few days. I think I've officially gotten the event plague, so I'm not happy about that, but I am happy that we are home, and man, we got a fucking awesome event last weekend. I'll tell you that much.
Oh,
Probably,
yeah,
probably
that was
one of the
great.
best North American events ever.
And Nunes got pro, and as you can see by the overlay, we talking about it later.
Okay,
Oh
we
man,
talk. Oh,
We
that's what
talk.
the topic.
Oh yeah, yeah. That's we got our topics today are Boston, big Boston, more Boston, and Nunes is pro.
I'm with that. Okay, those are actually. That's actually
That's
a great
a
selection
pretty
of
good one.
topics.
Yeah,
Give me credit
to
for that one.
me, that event like it kind of sealed the deal in terms. Obviously, we're gonna get into it, but it sealed the deal. Like Gears of War, if we can just perfect the game modes and making it fun for the spectators while balancing it out for the people actually playing the game, Gears of War is in a really good position. So.
Yeah, and you know what? To even add on to that, one thing that was super special to me is that I had people who made that Boston event their first ever Gears of
Oh.
War event. People who have been in my Twitch chat for a long time. Shout out to my man Hunter out there for coming through. He brought his wife. And then I tell you one thing that's dope. I'm seeing a lot of brothers coming through. And I'm over here like, where the hell y'all been at? You know, my whole entire Gears of War career. And just all these new faces showing up. And you know, I said it in our pre-tournament hype meeting. I was like, you know what? I am so happy in the direction which our community is going. And you know, granted, some people out there are like, you know, hey, I'm gonna go play this other game. I'm gonna play this game. Granted, I'm with Jacob. Like, you know, let's get the game right. But as far as community wise, like Gears is this place where you can instead of like going somewhere else, like build this shit up. Let's renovate. You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm saying. Like let's renovate. We got a castle. We got a big castle, and the game is the Gears 5 about to be the shit. Okay, so don't be late to the ballpark. You know, you come in season 2, Gears 5 or whatever. Up here like, yo, I'm back, and then shit, you be behind the game.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's definitely an exciting time. I think obviously we do know that Gears 5 is around the corner. That in itself is always going to hold excitement. Obviously, the big elephant in the room for us is the fact that we have E-League coming up too. So I think for me, this event was really exciting. This event had a lot of cool storylines. I got to see a lot of teams kind of show up or not show up, and it just creates a lot of things to talk about and a lot of things that keep us excited as we lead into E-League. And like, I don't think everyone still quite understands like the importance of E-League. I know it's really cool to like say we're going to be on TV, and it's really cool that a huge operator is going to look at us, but like what people don't forget, and I think the part that I see that no one ever talks about is the fact that like this is the Gears 5 multiplayer reveal. More importantly,
Yep.
Gears 5 is being revealed, or at least the multiplayer is being revealed through esports now, right? It's not like this is one of those things where like there was an invitational when Gears 4 came out, right? And that was just an invitational. No, like the world is going to see Gears 5 multiplayer through this event. So we're going to be
Yeah,
exposed to so many new fans, so many new potential people who don't know about esports, don't know about Gears esports.
so true.
So that to me is like what's the most exciting. So I think that having an amazing Boston event the way we did is just it's all good to keep the momentum alive. I know other people are going to play UE, they're going to play Years 2, they're going to play other things. That happens, man. Call of Duty, every time the season ends in Call of Duty, they go back and play Ghosts, or they go back and play a Boots game, or they go back and play whatever was their old favorite game, and that's okay, right? Like we have a slew of awesome games in the franchise. So I just think it's a super exciting time, honestly.
It really is, man. Like think,
I'm
think
saying,
about
bro. I'm
all the other
saying.
thinking like for me, I can vividly remember all the other four launches, right? And none of them was on TV like this.
Nope.
Like
I think
Elite.
the closest one to compare would be like what Crouchy said in the chat is the Gears 3 one, kind of giving hope for like MLG, kind of
Yeah.
teasing at it or whatever. That's big. You're getting developers versus the pros. People are getting involved. Unfortunate what happened
Mhm.
after, but you got to step in the right direction. Put this on TV. There's a whole massive new set of eyes that we can possibly capture. But then building up to that, we need to be able to also like kind of retain them, and then you guys are talking about building up to that and getting these new eyes, but we need to also capture them, but then keep them. We need to keep as much of those viewers as we can. So that's why, like, as a community, I'm not saying clean up in terms of like don't trash talk each other anymore, blah blah blah, be better humans. I'm not going to give you that spiel, but you guys need to have that professional switch that you guys need to be able to turn on when it matters most, and then and develop your guys' selves from there. You know what I mean? Obviously, you can't perfectly get rid of all the trash talk and the negatives in any game, but that professional switch, some of you guys needed to have one.
Yeah, it's what we make it. That's all I was gonna say, was that this like Gears Esports is what we make it. Now, you know, however you like, imagine what you want to be at its peak and act accordingly. You know what I'm saying? And shit, yeah, we like I said, we gonna renovate.
I mean, trash talk is like in all of our bloods. I had a couple of fans over the weekend that I don't think traditionally came from Gears, and they asked me like, does any of this stuff kind of like phase players? Does any of this stuff kind of make you think differently? Or like, he's just asking kind of about like the philosophy of like trash talk in our game. And I literally told the guys, like, honestly, man, like it's just in our blood. Like it's just what we know. It's what we've always known. It's what we're kind of conditioned to do. But to your guys' point, like we saw with kind of the rule, you know, with E-League and everything, you have to be able to flip that switch, and more importantly, like we can still retain our identity. We can still be who we are. It's just about, like, I guess, tweaking a little bit in my eyes, or just kind of cleaning it up a little bit, which, you know, is, you know, obviously, like we had like the, you know, the rule in Boston and everything like that. Those things are a start, but I think players just need to take the time between now and then to just kind of, I guess, refine how you present yourselves on all fronts, right? Not just at a tournament in a game and a listening, right? Like how you interact on social media, how you interact with each other, how you interact on camera, on your own stream, like all these different things that can create your own personal kind of brand, right? Because keep in mind, we're going to be on television. So let's say that someone sees you on television, right? And then they go, okay, I want to go take a look at that guy and take a look at what his stream's like or what his social media looks like. How do I find out more about him? And then the first one is the sucking dick, blah, 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 right? Like that's not going to retain a fan, right? That's going to turn someone off, give them a bad idea about our game. So, by the way, Noonie, thanks for the sub. Free burger, appreciate you.
Yo, Nunez up in the building. But no, I'm with you on that. And Ryan, I was gonna add another front to that too as well, because you named being professional at events. You name when especially like, you know, when you're on that front, even outside of events, being professional for your brand and who you represent. But I'm gonna take it one step further and add a third level to that, and that's being professional in the sense as being a teammate. Mm-hmm. Okay, like.
Oh, don't get me started on that.
People don't want to get nerdy enough in order to be the best. They think that it just takes it for them to get on at 6 o'clock, which they're late for most of the time, and then hop in the party. Like, hey man, I'm here to scrim, load up the map, and go out and just fucking start killing some people. And be like, oh yeah, I'm scrimming for the day. Yeah, bro. I don't know if they think Gilbert or Rhodey won those trophies by just putting on a fucking Optic Gaming jersey and a gold chain, and that's the key to their success. But it's a lot of stuff that gets done behind the scenes. Also, players need to realize too that there is no right formula to being that successful, to preparing to beat them. Create the formula. Create how you want to prepare. You know, that's why I always say one thing that's so dope about having a good IGL is that has vision, is that they will set up the infrastructure on how you practice and how you get on for a day and what you're working on. So we need to get nerdy in that sense too, because people want to be professionals, want to get paid like professionals, but can't even go out here and put up a fucking fight.
Yeah, I mean, Jake and I talked about this last week a little bit. I'm happy to go this direction again before we start to cover Boston, because I still think it's super, super important, and I think it's almost become comical. And I spent some time, obviously a good amount of time, you know, on a pro team and kind of living that life behind the scenes. And so I always say, like, my favorite quote ever is like I just want to win. Like, man, I just want to win so bad. Like, no, the fuck you don't, man. Like, based on what I'm seeing, like, no, you do not just want to win, right? Like if you just wanted to win, there's a lot of things that you could do. There's the extra mile you can go to ensure that you have a chance, right? I think the best example would be the reciprocity, they were Denial, but the reciprocity team leading into Mexico, right? They outworked everyone. Literally, they outworked the entire scene, right? And again, they fell a little short, but man, they had a chance, right? You talk about putting up a fight, right? No one put up a better fight than them. They actually beat Optic in a series, right? They beat them in the winners finals, had a really, really unfortunate grand finals, don't get me wrong. But that team, that just literally shows you, like, they were doing things that no other team was doing. They were doing drills. How many other teams do drills, right? They were playing all the arms race games. They were doing all these things that refine their game and give them the best chance to succeed. And they were outright the second best team there, right? And again, they came a little short, but they put up a fight and they beat this super team in a series. And you know what? If they come out swinging a little better in the finals, they could have won a chip, right? So to me, like, that's the I just want to win. That's the extra things you do. It's the extra things you put into your own game. Are you doing things like playing singles? Are you playing solo? Are you doing all the things that put you in a mechanically well place? Being a good teammate to your teammate. Like the I just want to win shit needs to stop. That's just some Twitter bullshit. It's like the idiots who put move in silence. Like, if you're screaming at my face, you're not moving in silence. Like enough.
If you're saying you're moving in silence, chances are
I
you're not
hate that
Like,
shit.
you gotta know how to fucking, like, when you play against like the best, you gotta know how to lose. Like, because if you really lose it, you ain't taking losses in a sense. Like, if you learning after every single round, like, it just needs, you gotta be ready for a dog fight. You truly do.
Like, even Price in the chat, he said Blaze is tired of kids bending over versus us. Like, literally, like half the fucking pro teams do it before the match even starts. They just assume it's over, right? Like, I can't.
Because my thing is, like, if you have a mentality that of nothing else matters but beating those guys, then nothing else truly fucking matters. But like but the communication, how your practice is gonna be, how your teammates are, like all of that going to this event. I remember, the funniest, my best person, one of the funniest moments was, I think Mexico City was, it was the Elevate boys, the EU boys. They were playing somebody, and they asked me on the desk, they was like, yo, Blaze, how they gonna do? And I was like, they about to fucking lose 2-0. And they was like, what? You crazy? I'm like, they gonna fucking lose 2-0. And I was like, how did I get to that conclusion? I thought back to fucking Thursday night. I was like, were they fucking drinking again? Did they look like they wanted to win an event this weekend? I was like, oh, okay, no, they lost 2-0.
You can literally see it. So there were literally teams out there that don't really watch VOD as a team until the event. Like, there's a difference between going into a map and watching VOD afterwards, like by myself. Maybe me and Blaze are going in and watching VOD, but then watching it as a team and fully trying to understand and fully trying to break it down. Because if you're just watching it by yourself, if you're just watching it, whatever, then you're not really taking it in. And to say something about listen, there is a difference between hearing somebody and listening to somebody. Because I've seen it multiple times this weekend alone. I'm listening to the call outs between players and somebody saying, oh, back up. And then the guy's not listening. He hears what the guy's saying, but he's just not listening. He's continuing to fight it. And that's where it's just like, you guys are really setting yourself up for failure because you can't even do the simplest thing.
Who's taking notes? Like, very few people even taking notes. So they're like it's all in their head, huh? Every piece of data is in their head, but they didn't probably take notes of school anyway, too, but I was having a conversation where, like, I ended up being lucky enough to be on the same flight as Toy Soldier, and we had a long conversation on the way back, and we was talking about how nerdy that you had to get. And Toy is a champion. He's won before. He is a very meticulous player, and he was telling me how even he just put sticky notes everywhere on things that he got to do and work on and things that he's noticing, like putting in that extra effort. Like, y'all want this shit to be a job, but y'all not really preparing for it like it's a job. Nope. Y'all not coming to work. Y'all, and most of y'all ain't really had real jobs too. And I gotta take that as an understanding so I can be like sensitive about the whole topic and all. But like, it's a work ethic and it's something that goes into it that you really want it. And very few people show that to me. Like, that's why sometimes, like, I wish I was like in that scrim mix again so I can really tell like who fucking grinding for real. Who's really, really practicing like I used to be. Cause now I just, I kind of see what's up at events and on 2Ks and stuff. But yeah, man, like, nobody want it.
I mean, and at the event it shows, and I guess that could be kind of our sort of transition into this Boston event. So I'm going to start with the pools. Obviously, we're going to kind of work our way through. I think let's go ahead and take a look at the pools, and then we'll kind of start to look at the different pieces of the bracket and kind of how it went about. So take a look at the pools right now, and probably take you guys a couple seconds to see on the stream. But Pool A went pretty much, I guess, let's go pool by pool, I guess. Pool A went pretty much how you'd expect. Optic won it pretty easy. Simplicity, despite their struggles, came out with a 2-1 record. I think to me the surprising one was FYC 1-2 and then Fire and Ice 0-3. I thought that Fire and Ice would probably beat the open bracket team, but I guess the biggest shocker I think of the pool for any of us besides FYC is the fact that the only map that Optic lost the whole event was to FYC, and it was a 7-6 on Foundation. I'm pretty sure Optic didn't lose another map the whole rest of the event.
I'm not sure they did
I
either.
heard-
That's either.
I didn't even. So what I heard about that game, and it pissed me off because I heard it like as soon as the event was over. I heard FYC lost map 1 like 7-6. Then map 2 they end up winning 7-6 or something. And then they got a penalty because Blast end up going off. Okay, so then they got a penalty on map 3 or something. But I heard a penalty came in and it was 2 close maps. But yeah, but Praise, did you 7-0 them when they had a penalty? That's what my question is too, because that's another that's a vibe kill, bro. Like I heard a penalty came into that match somewhere towards the end of it.
Apparently,
no, I think
Praise say that was only close match.
Team. I think it was against another team, but I do know. Okay. Powers also had that penalty but luckily for Powers, they were up 6-2, and then Speedy's team came back and tied it up 6-6 to force round number 13 that they eventually lost. But another time it happened, and it was actually Hez's team on main stage. I don't know who it was against.
Nunez.
Hez's team, I heard.
It's against Nunez.
They ended up. It was 5-5. The round ended, and they won 6-5. But then the penalty comes into play. Nunez's team finishes the last 2 rounds because it's 4v5, beats them that map, and then starts the next map up 2-0, and it's like
I casted that game.
I agree with the rule, but I don't agree at the implementation. But at the same time, the players should know better. But at the same time, this is how some of them have been all their lives. It's like, no, I honestly don't know how to feel about that rule. I see both sides of that coin.
What? I tell it to you like this. But at first I wasn't gonna talk about it.
I wasn't either. But if we're doing this, I guess let me put it back on so I can see your beautiful faces. I guess I don't know. Like I was gonna stay away from this whole thing.
But I know I just wanted to talk about this rule because I see the point of it. I see all the upsides to it, but at the same time, it's just the way it was implemented. I don't know.
I mean, I don't know. To me, it is what it is. They were told the rule. At the end of the day,
I'm gonna just speak on it as a person of color, in the language in which was spoken on it. Like the one thing is that as Gears players, the N word is something that we've been saying we say a lot, but that's mainly because we have a very cultured community.
Yep.
And it's not like this fucking fad that we're all saying. It's in the cultures of where people growing up. Like when I was playing Gears in my hood, I used N-word all the time in many different contexts. It was a part of my language. And when I transitioned into broadcast, I had to transition that out of my language because it was a while it was habit, you know what I'm saying? But then I always had to learn my audience and always learn who was around me. Okay, and then I talk a different way around depends on who's my audience. That's something I had to become aware of, and that all Gears players should become aware of as well. That don't be upset with it. It's other words out there. You just got to be an adult at this point and start practicing and transition out of that. All right. And so that we can get Gears on a bigger stage. And so nobody has to worry about you when we on national television and people don't want to invest money in this because that same money that gets invested is money that goes into Gears players' pockets as well. Right. That grows it. So that's where we talk about a little bit more professionalism coming in. On the flip end, okay, on the flip end, I understand that in some senses that you go to your teammate and you talking to your teammate, and you like, yo, good job, nigga. You know what I'm saying? Like, good stuff. And you dap them up across the board. And there's nothing offensive about that whatsoever. And it's nothing coming for somebody. But, the issue is how late it was there and just, people in the context, because then you get into this whole sticky situation of context, right? Of people just hearing the word and not understanding the context in which it was used in, just based off not understanding. And to just avoid all those situations is to just not say it and just choose another word out of the millions in the dictionary.
What I told, like, I was talking to Praise about it in one of the little VIP areas, and because obviously, we know, and so if you look across the board, there's like liabilities in every team, right? There's like a liability on every team that you're like, oh crap, like he might say it, and so I was like, yo, like honestly, like players, like I said, the rule is what it is. It makes sense. That's the direction we should go in anyways. But I was like, you got to just get creative with it. You got to get something to where it becomes fun, because some players are worried that like, what if this like I focus on it so much that it mentally takes me out of the game. So I was like, all right, you got to do something like super, super extreme the other direction, right? So anytime that you would say something crazy to someone, like give them like a wild compliment instead, right? Like you are so, instead of like you are so fucking whatever, like you are so fucking handsome. Like you know what I'm saying? Like go focus on going extreme the other way, right? Like
take that same energy and just throw it into something else.
Like I fucking love your t-shirt. Like do something.
Yeah, and it's gonna take a while for some players to change. Others can change overnight, but some just need to just practice it. So they just need to get into better habits.
I think
that was the only thing. It's just that that was it.
I think the overarching thing is like no matter what anyone's opinion on it is, either way, it's the direction we should be going in the first place. It's we've been doing this long enough. Like it's not other esports don't the same way, and so I get it that it's just at this point like we're on
that's all it is.
TV.
Because, like, and a prime example of how it all even like went down. Like, because it's mics there. Like, you want to pick up what the players are saying, right?
Yep.
Like, that's part of the experience of watching, that you want to like hear the players communicate. You want that entire experience, and then you go in and you hear this team. Now, granted, and so the team's point of view is saying that, hey, we're just talking to each other the same way that we talk to each other when we're scrimming online, right? Those are our comms. That's the only sticky situation for me, is that, especially as a player, that I can even say that, me coming up is that my comms were sacred on my team. Yep. How I scrimmed was something that was sacred. How I gassed my teammates was something that was sacred. If I told my teammate, like, yo, go, fuck something, whatever, and it got him hype. He knew what was up. That was our thing. Yep. And I didn't want that shit to be broadcasted out into the world. Now,
everybody
when it came down,
refuses.
I always felt like teams should probably have choices to say, turn my comms off. I don't want none of y'all to hear what I'm saying. I talk to y'all during the interview, black and white, because you don't hear the locker room the sides on hockey, do you? Like, you don't hear in the box what the coaches are saying, right? None of that. So that's why that was always my iffy thing when it came down to listeners, but they've always been cool.
Yeah.
So and I don't think they're going anywhere. So we just gotta take it on the chin.
Yeah, no, I definitely see both sides. Like I just the way I look at it nowadays, it's like it is the reality of where we're at. It's we want nice things like TV and we want all this stuff. So that's kind of what comes with that territory, right? So luckily, so there wasn't a ton of. I guess the biggest thing too for me that's like a relief is there wasn't really a ton of infractions that impacted anything tournament wise. I think that, like I said, with Nunez and Denial's team, like that, it impacted that match, and that's true. But like, sorry guys, that those weren't two contenders either way. So it's not like that made a change that was going to affect the top four or anything like that. So. And then obviously, like I said, happy with Rise. Rise ended up still winning the map. So I guess at the end of the day, like it didn't have an effect.
It didn't have no effect.
Right. So that was at least the biggest thing.
As soon as somebody got caught with it, I think that's when everybody's like, "Oh no, it
happened early too," and it happened. And they enforced it on a high profile player too. So that's how you knew like that shit was serious.
I agree on the Powers one, yo. You know what I'm saying? Because like
to me, Powers, he didn't even say anything. It wasn't even racial of what he said.
It was discriminatory.
It was just as bad, but that just shows the wide range of things they're just trying to put the stop to, in which, like Ryan said, it's in the right direction of what it should. I just wanted to get you guys' thoughts on it, I guess.
Overall, like it's only there because people just got to be more professional. That's all. It's only there because it's just people got to be more professional. You professional about the whole situation, and then you good. You figure out how to talk shit in such a way where you on camera, you can be clever with it and still make that shit sting at the same time.
Yeah,
you can gas your teammates up and still be an entertainer, but go out and drop 40 kills in game as well. Definitely. Like it's an art to that. You got to ask yourself what type of player you want to be on and off camera. So like. Unless you want to just be the homie from the block that's just playing a video game with the other homies and shit in the camera, then you're like, yeah. Then you in the DMs talking like, yo, can you get this clip deleted and shit?
Definitely. All right, well, that's I wasn't sure if it was gonna come up, but it came up, and we went there, and you know what, it's it's good to have both points of view out there, and
Yeah,
yeah,
I
no,
would
for
rather
sure.
talk about it and get it
And I
open
don't
for
mind.
these
Yeah, we
people
gotta
out
talk about
there.
stuff like that.
Yeah, to get everyone like aware of it so they can have ample opportunity, ample time to realize the direction in which we're going. And it's like, all right, I see what they're saying. Maybe I do need to develop this switch that they're talking about. So that way, if the mic is in my face, I can flip that switch and be more of a professional about it. That way, when I go back behind the scenes, it's like, okay, I can be myself here, and I know here I gotta
Know
clean
your
it up a little bit
audience.
and go from there. Because I mean, realistically, if nobody talks about it, how are these people gonna learn? How are they
and
really gonna
and I
know?
would say
Other than
to the AM community too, like hear that stuff loud and clear, hear that stuff's legit. I know a lot of you are up and coming players too. Like take it in your own time to like try to if you say any of that stuff when you're scrimming on a daily basis, whatever, like try your best to try to start to tone that down too. I heard it a lot in open bracket, but they didn't seem to really be enforcing the rule in open bracket the same way as the pro bracket. So like just know, like if you guys are aspiring pro players, like just nip it in the butt now. Just get it out of your habits now, and like I said, you want to be on TV too, so
Know your audience, okay?
Yep.
I could be in the back talking with my homies, and at that point, I could be old school me, okay? I could be,
Yep.
part of my inner self, Gary Blaze, okay? And I can have a real conversation with them, and we good. And then I can go to work and walk in the office full of people that's fucking smarter than me, and I can just flip the switch, and it's whatever, So.
Definitely.
You gotta know your audience. Yeah.
Alrighty, well, back to let me put the pools back up. Like I said, Pool A, man, not a ton to talk about. I think the only thing was really the FYC thing. That was to me the biggest surprise. Fire Nights, like I said, did go 0-3 unfortunately, but Pool B I think is one to talk about for sure because I think that could have been probably the most surprising result of all of pool play, I think, which was that Lux Gaming ended up getting second in the pool with a record of 2-1. Yeah, for any of you guys that don't know, Lux Gaming used to go by Treyway, so that team with Braveheart and Zysho and all those kind of young up and coming players, and they did what they said they would do, and they finally came to an event. And in my eyes, they pulled up.
Yeah,
No, they did.
And I mean,
to me, that's so surprising because of not necessarily like Lux Gaming and all that, because of how well Mazer was playing leading up to this event and how well they played against Reciprocity in the main stage match. So for them to kind of like fall to Lux Gaming, catch them off guard, kind of surprised me there as well. So I mean, not any fault on Mazer, they still played amazing throughout the rest of this tournament, but.
yeah, I mean, Mazer bounced back for sure. I think with Lux Gaming, I'll talk about them in a similar sense that I talk about Hive sometimes, which, speaking of Hive, they had a disappointing event. Jacob, I thought they were going to have a pretty good run, but we'll talk about that. We'll talk about that in the next pool. Okay. But no, for Lux Gaming, man, it's exciting to me because those are another set of sort of like the next up-and-coming potential pros, some of the next up-and-coming potential stars in our scene. So to see them kind of show up the way, in a very similar fashion that when Nimbus showed up, remember way back when Nimbus and those boys showed up out of open bracket, surprised the hell out of everyone and put up a good show. Like this to me was very reminiscent of that. So that's just to me another set of young up and coming players who people will have to watch out for when the new game drops. We know that every time there's a new set, a new game, a new set of pros comes with that. So to me, it was exciting to see them get an event under their belt before the new games. I think that experience to them as a team, if they stick together, is probably going to be so valuable coming into the new title. So definitely a team to watch out for. And I'm with you, Jacob. I think Mazer going 1-2 in that pool was definitely surprising, disappointing. I think as a whole, their event was, despite getting top 8, was they looked better than top 8 online. I think again, once again, like I said on the desk, like the core of that team somehow always ends up coming up short for some reason. And I'll say it a little nicer than Soto said it. Like Soto was going nuts on them. Like I don't know why it's always looks so great on Friday, always looks so great on Saturday, and even in the beginnings of Sunday, yeah. And they just always, even when they were the old, they were Elevate for a while and Simplicity, like they would look so good. They just
couldn't close it out.
They brought Optic to like map or match point. Like all these things are so close, and they just come up short. So we'll get more into that when bracket play starts. But again, like I guess I want to make this segment more about Lux Gaming doing what they did because that was the most surprising thing.
Yeah.
Nah, those boys definitely.
A couple of them did it before in the Las Vegas when Ghost won. I do believe one or two of them on that team have made pulls before, and I think they went 0-3 or like 1-2. So for them to kind of like what you said, they're improving, and that's to me the biggest part of being able to stick together is you do see these improvements. Obviously, it wasn't the full 5 roster, but that duo-ship goes a long way, and then you get those other players that can complement your play style, and you go from there. But like I said, stick together
Okay,
and go from
that
there.
that's exactly what it is, man. If I had to give any bit of advice to like an amateur team like that, that's trying to do that historic run and make that comeback and get noticed, is don't bust your nut and lose this round three. Okay.
Yep.
I mean that, okay, because you can win a game and it'd be so exciting. You give out all this energy, yeah, talk this shit, backflips, everything, walk off, and the next match come out, and then it didn't kick to you that you ate like shit the day before, and you drink all the night before, and you come into this match like, bro, I'm fucking tired, I'm missing shots, can't hit nothing. Like you got to come in like you ready to go on the losers bracket runs. Those things aren't easy. Okay, and if you showing up to win an event, you got to prepare like you
Yep.
got to eat like you ready to go on a loser bracket run.
Yo,
Definitely.
one of my boys for PUBG, like the Ghost PUBG guy, Balak said is like when you're at this high of a level, when you get that, let's just say everybody reaches that 95%, right? Everybody is 95% good, and
Mm-hmm.
you can't really do anything gameplay wise to get that extra
Mm-hmm.
5%. Where are you gonna get that 5%? You're gonna get that 5% being a good teammate, eating well, getting that
Mm.
extra bit of sleep. Maybe you just have that
Yep.
energy because you worked out, the day before or that morning. You got to make up that 5% elsewhere, and people don't realize that does go a long way. Look at these kids on Optic Gaming. Tell me which one of them is super unhealthy besides maybe praising his
Hey man,
post
they
game happen.
actually
Maybe
they kill it in the gym.
they
Like
they
that's
are
Yeah,
that's the
they've
one
literally
been
thing.
hitting it.
killing it.
If that was their downfall, like that changed at the beginning of the season when Gil got in that gym, then Billy showed up, Alex showed up ready to work out.
And
All
I'm not
right.
saying that's gonna make you an AM player to a pro player, but once you're at that high, that super high level, literally that little bit can be the difference. That can be the difference between you dominating on Saturday and coming up short on Sunday.
And the
You had
scary
you had
thing is
one
that
too
Optic
many
is
of
already
something.
compensating for that too. Oof. But you got to get on a level.
Definitely agree. I mean, Jordan Ribs is always someone that's been super, super big on the health aspect, the mental aspect of competing
Mm-hmm.
at a high level. He used to always, before every 2K, would always tell us what he had for breakfast, a balanced ass meal, everything you could ever want, Nick, and he's always making sure he was mentally prepared for the 2Ks. So I definitely learned a lot from having him on the team of some of the importance of that and kind of how it can impact players at live events too. But moving on to Pool C, I think this was the pool that everyone wanted to see the most. And Jacob, we actually got our wish. Remember on episode 1, we said, man, can you imagine if Hive ends up in this pool?
Yep.
Because we knew they're going to cause problems to someone. Ended up actually, falling short at 1 and 2 of the pool, which isn't obviously super, super shocking. I think the world knew no matter who ended up in this pool that it was going to be between Rise Nation and Ghost Gaming. But to surprise to some, maybe not to you, Jacob, but to surprise some, I mean, Ghost Gaming came out and beat Rise pretty handedly, I would say.
I mean, besides map number one, it was pretty easy for Ghost.
Oh
The other
yeah,
four maps that they did for him the second time.
outside of the single worst map pick in Gears history, we'll go there.
At least Demise admitted it. I was dumb.
Oh my god, yeah, and Blaze, if
Which
you don't if
map?
you don't remember,
Foundation?
yeah, Ghost Gaming picked Foundation against Rise, and for our viewers that don't know, like Rise is pretty like one of the best Foundation teams in the game, pretty outright. I think you probably give Optics still the nudge on it because they've won so many championships on it, but Rise for a while was looking dominant on Foundation. No one could touch them on it. So for a team to go not only let it through, but actually physically pick it against them is absolutely mind blowing. Especially a Ghost Gaming team who the core of that roster didn't play the map for like a big portion of the game. So either way, like I said, they bounced back handily. They won the second and third map, like I said, pretty fittingly, and they obviously moved on to have a fucking awesome run at the event. So huge shout out to Ghost. But I think I was still a little surprised to see Rise not take that pool. I think coming to the event, we had very, very high expectations of them.
Yeah, we did.
They look really strong online. They beat Optic in the 2K online. They were making a lot of finals. They were beating pro teams with Eskamugadu on their team. Like they were looking very, very strong. So for Ghost Gaming to come hit him in the mouth like that after that first map, I think surprised a lot of people. But we did know it's the pool of death. We know all kinds of things can happen in pools. So Ghost Gaming did end up taking it with a 3-0. And like I said, Hive did fall to both Rise and Ghost Gaming. I think it would have been cool to see a potential upset from the Hive boys, but it just wasn't in the cards. And the Nemesis being Toy's team. I mean, Jacob, we talked about this on the last episode, man.
Yeah.
This was the worst possible pool for these guys to end up in. This is a team with a lot of great players, a team with some champions on it, but they're a pickup team, man. They're a team who's scattered. They kind of came from all over the place, and to be in a pool with which became 3, very, very strong teams is just really tough for them.
Yeah, one thing I did notice about them though, Nemesis was literally so stuck on that aggressive, I want to get in your face and beat you up playstyle. It's literally the reason why they lost a map against Rise Nation later on in the tournament, which we could probably save for when we actually get to that match. But man, they were literally so confident on their playstyle. That's one thing I did like about watching this Nemesis is they had players like Toy, Speedy, Zerpting who knew they can bang with the best of them. They were so confident of their playstyle that turned out to be the nail in the
I think, to be honest, man, and I don't mean to I could be totally wrong, but the way I looked at that team coming in this event was like, it's a team across the board. It was what? Toy, Speedy, Zerp, Sneak, and then who am I missing as the 5th?
Damn it, it's somebody I know.
I don't know why I'm blanking. This is easy, but either way, let's go with those 3.
It's Hudson's.
And Hudson. So okay, I don't think Hudson necessarily falls in this category, but this is, I mean, if you look across the board, man, this is a team, I think, outside of maybe Sneak, who all their player stocks individually were kind of falling as of recent, right? None of those players are looked at. I mean, Zerb obviously got released and was having a hard time finding a team. Obviously, Speedy was released from a bunch of different teams. His stock's kind of been falling despite his talent. And obviously Toy's stock has fallen quite a bit too. So I get the sense that everyone on this team, I think, was more looking to further their personal brand more so than they were trying to be invested into this team. And I think when you have those aggressive players who are all trying to make the hero plays, who all want to look good so they can all look like, no, see, I promise I'm still really good, right? Like, look what I'm doing. So I think when you have a lot of players who are really, really struggling to land on those top teams again, I think it's going to end up in just a situation where everyone's playing really individualistic and not playing as a team. And I mean, you could see it in some of the maps, even in the 2K. Man, like, they beat Optic Gaming on a map, and Speedy had like 45 kills or something for it to happen. Everyone else had like 15. So like, you just, I don't know. I just get the sense that everyone was sort of on a more individual path than a team path when it came to them. And at the same time, man, they landed in such a hard pool in the first place. It was just doomed from the beginning.
I think you hit the nail on the head. They're just trying to get their stock has dropped so far as players. They're just trying to get that one stock rising event in before the next game comes out. So people are looking at him. It's like, okay, maybe he wasn't that bad, because the last thing I remember is somebody going off on that squad.
Yeah, because they're not that team is not, by no means is that team sticking together, right? That team is not by any means sticking together, right? And then we'll talk about in bracket. They got a blessing of a bracket into top 8 as well. So luckily, from that end, it kind of worked out for him. But yeah, I mean, like I said, I think it was just doomed from the start. But we can talk about that in the bracket. I think Pool D was one that was, I guess, I mean, Elevate winning that. I think I personally expected that. You guys, I know Blaze, I think you were a little higher on Fable than the rest of us, but I kind of expected Elevate to take that. I think, I mean, you can obviously give obviously we got to give the big shout out. One of our topics is that Nunez is pro, so big shout out to Hydra for getting 3rd in that pool. But I'm really going to only focus on the top 2, because those are the only 2 teams in the pool that I think really mattered in terms of the bracket. And so I guess, Blaze, I'll let you give a little piece, since you were very high on Fable coming into this, and so I want to kind of hear you on this.
On my thoughts of how Pool D ended up.
Yeah, and maybe Fable in general.
Yeah, well, yeah.
They moved on to a good Sunday.
They did. They moved on to a good Sunday. Denial. They were going to be hit or miss, and of course they were miss. Big shout outs to Hydra for coming in. Making it through, making some plays happen. Like, their match against Fable was super important Saturday morning, because that was pretty much the number 2 team in that pool. They win that one, then they just have to have a great game against Denial later on to possibly make it out. But Elevate cooked Fable in that pool. Elevate the entire weekend, man. They was playing super slow, super methodical, and I thought that everything was gonna be good for this squad. But then I watched them play Optic, and I watched that damn matchup. I watched them get this drop shot and these power weapons, and Optic pushed them with just their shotties out and their Lancer. And I watched Fable run with the power weapons back to spawn with this plan to just defend this home hill. And it was so terrible, because you could tell that if the culture of a squad was to whoop the shit out of your opponent and play for that trip cap domination and to own the map, not just play on it, but to own some sections of the map where your opponent be like, yo, I don't want to go over there. You know, they didn't have that in them. You know, they didn't have it in them. It was too methodical on that one. That's why I thought Fable might be able to get them on like a Sunday when they played them. But you know, they Fable couldn't get it done. You know, like I said, you can't bust you nothing to lose this round 3. So,
Any surprise for you, Jacob? I mean, that was kind of the result I expected, but any kind of surprise from you?
No, I mean, for the most part, is what I expected. I said it before in the last episode. I didn't think this Denial Squad was going to do that good simply because they've tried it before. I know one player's different. They tried it before. They reached their peak, and then they all split up. So I don't exactly get it. I mean, except for one last event bang out. But, I mean, other than that, this is almost what I expected from this pool. Shout out to Nunez for getting that top 8. I got to cast Nunez. Unfortunately,
top 12, wasn't it?
They got top 12.
Yeah, top 12. My bad, top 12. But I mean, other than that, it's kind of what you expect.
Yeah, no, I agree. Well, again, when we get to the Nunez topic, I'll give you my piece because there's a lack of free burgers out of his mouth when he was on camera multiple times. And keep in mind, this is supposed to be the head of the spear of our movement, so we'll get there when we get there. But yeah, I mean, if you guys have any. Yeah, no, I'm pissed about that. But again, I mean, like I said, the pools went the way they went. I mean, again, a couple surprises here and there, but everything we kind of expect. Let's take a look, I guess, over at the champ bracket because, I mean, and I'm going to let you guys know this is an overwhelming bracket right now. There's a lot going on.
Yeah.
But I actually was telling Coalition in the back, I actually loved this style of brackets. It's just kind of look at and take in because it has both the winner side and the loser side. So, I mean, I guess... Let's go ahead and start with winners bracket, and we'll start with winners, the first round of winners, just because that's what directly comes after pool play, obviously. So I think the biggest thing that stuck out to everyone was like, holy shit, Optic Gaming versus Rise Nation in round 1 of winners, because a lot of people, myself included, had that matchup as a potential grand finals, right? And for a while, it looked like that Rise could be kind of one of the contenders to take them down, and we ended up getting them in the first round. And then obviously beyond that, we had Lux Gaming play against Elevate. Lux obviously made a great run through the pools, and then this sort of potentially set up that Elevate versus Optic matchup that a lot of other people like to watch. And then on the bottom side, Ghost versus Simplicity, and then Fable versus Reciprocity. I think on that side of the bracket, the Ghost and Simplicity thing was pretty straightforward. Fable Reciprocity, I do know just from being friends with those guys, Fable has been whooping the shit out of Reciprocity online leading to this event, so coming into that matchup was a little more interesting than meets the eye just because the online results had been a little overwhelming, but we'll go ahead and start with the Optic Rise matchup and kind of go from there because I'll be honest, like the second map did get to 7-6, but it honestly wasn't close. Like the first map wasn't close, and then Damn, I believe, was the map that Rise got at the 7-6, but even then it was one of those things where you never really felt like it was gonna happen. You were more so just waiting for Optic to just finally, okay, go ahead and clean up that last round, and then let's go home.
That's why you got to take map number 1, man, against Optic. When you win that much, you have a certain demeanor about you, and then everybody is always expecting it out of you, even if they're expecting you to win, right? And so that's the type of order Optic had about them, but that's why you got to be such a badass team to know that everybody expects you to fucking lose, and you still come out on top and you win somehow, some way. Because, yeah, Optic just played around. They had fun in that map, too.
To me, the biggest thing I think Rise did wrong, it was their triple cap opportunities. And to me, I even talked to Avexis and them after that match. If you watch the way when Rise has numbers and they begin to put the pressure on Optic and they begin to move forward and try to get that triple cap, and then the way you watch Optic do that same thing back right after their failed attempts, that is literally the most night and day thing I've witnessed in Gears of War. It's like Rise is kind of scared. They're kind of slow. They're moving up, and then they die. Optic is just like, bam, I want this. I'm going to move here. I'm taking this hill. Exactly. They just know it.
And then the thing is, all the players are thinking about getting it. They're like, and it's like, yeah, thank you for getting that. Yeah, man, I wanted it too. Shit, I wanted that hill and this hill. I did too, right? And then on the flip end, you got Rise. And it's like, yo, I want to get it. And then on the other side of the map, the player like, you sure about that? By then, you can't get it no more.
it's to me, it's just it's past being bad at this point.
It's a culture. That's the thing that people don't understand. Like what Optics, like the way. Another reason why Optic is so good is because the culture on the team, how they play, the team's play style of whooping the shit out of you and always playing for the trip cap if they can. Okay, whenever you see them really start to slow down, you know you got a good game on your hands.
Yeah.
Because that means that they're showing you a little bit of respect, okay? And for them to show you some respect, they saw something, and we all see something that's happening because they tried to disrespect you, and you was like, hold up, I ain't having that, So, but you
Yeah.
gotta always play for the trip cap when you can get it. But not everybody got like good gears knowledge
I
like
mean,
that. Knowing.
it's just, it didn't make sense though too, just because like I said, Rise's playstyle is that super super aggressive. Like, let's push the fights that maybe we're not supposed to win sometimes. Like, let's make sure we're always trip capping too. And that they said, Blaze, it just didn't look like the case in that matchup. And you have a team like Optic, who for one is the best team in the game at punishing mistakes, but also they play like that too, right? They are hyper aggressive at all times, and the second they have an advantage, they are going after it, no matter what the situation is. So
Also, too, another thing is about the whole Rise game is that for like even not even just the Optic match, but the matches before that, for whatever reason, they were so comfortable.
Right?
Like, they were super lax. Like they were like, I don't know, they would like they get a lead and they just get comfortable. Next thing you know, somebody start making a comeback on them. This is like, yo, can you win? Can you keep up the intensity? Can y'all play to the last second? Like play every round until it just says it's over. 100% of the time. Yeah, that takes stamina, man. That's some stamina, and that's the shit that you got to practice at home.
I was
That's why
surprised.
I said y'all got to be nerdy at home.
As a whole, I was actually pretty surprised. I won't say how strong they look, because it's never really a surprise, but like you said, how just comfortable they were, just because, I mean, it was no secret. They were not, I won't say struggling online, but they didn't look as strong online as we're used to them seeing, right? And it could be because they might not have been practicing as much as everyone else, but like the version of them we saw online versus the version of them at the event, and maybe that goes to both ways, right? Maybe the versions of the other teams we saw online versus the versions we saw of the other teams at the event was really, really shocking to me. Like I said, you came in this event thinking like, okay, like Rise has looked really good against them. Like Optic hasn't looked like the most fantastic ever. They're not looking bad, but they haven't looked the most fantastic. Like maybe someone's gonna take it from them on the last event of the season. Maybe it'll happen, right? And then we show up to the event, and Optic just beat the shit out of everyone, man. Like, and like I said, it looked comfortable, it looked easy, and for some reason this beatdown felt different than other Optic beatdowns, and I can say that because I've been on the other end of those Optic beatdowns quite a bit. But this one just for some reason this weekend felt a little more drastic, I guess, and maybe it's just because I didn't expect it to be. I just kind of expected there to be a little more fight put up, and
sometimes you can have the pressure
Everybody
on your
let me
squad
down.
because everybody expected a good game and you don't deliver.
I mean, the only thing that didn't let me down was I was not let down by Ghost. I was very happy to see what Ghost did, and we'll get to them in a minute. But that was very, very nice to see. And I did, Jacob, I was pretty high on the Elevate boys too, and so they placed about where I kind of thought they would too. So those are the kind of ones that didn't let me down. I was pretty let down by a lot of other teams. Albert, thanks for the bits, bro. Appreciate it. Yo, look, we got big knock in the chat, man. Y'all remember the OG. Y'all remember the OG.
Look at that.
Now that I think of it, there are a few teams that
Niagara
did let me down.
MVP, big knock in the building.
More so.
Knock,
And then
knock.
teams
Who it
that
is
not only
out.
let me down, but kind of like impressed me a little bit in terms of where they placed, where compared to where I thought they would.
All right, so jumping back to the brackets, that was the disappointing Optic versus Rise round one. I mean, Elevate versus Lux, not a ton of surprise there in my eyes. Like I said, we knew that Elevate was a much stronger team. It was great to see Lux, get where they got in pools, but I don't think we need to talk a ton about that match. I think that anyone would kind of know that was going to be a pretty one-sided match. And then, I mean, honestly, the same can go with Ghost and Simplicity. Simplicity, we've all known, has been very weak online leading up to the event, losing maps to subs. And, I mean, they were joking about it. They were apparently flipping fucking coins to choose maps and stuff like that. So you could tell that they did not feel so good about their preparation. And while I know they wanted to show up and win, I don't think their expectations themselves were super, super high in the first place. So, I mean, Ghost winning that 2-0 isn't any surprise to me. But I think the last match of the first round that's worth talking about is going to be that Reciprocity versus Fable match. I think just because, like we said, that Fable looked very, very strong against Reciprocity leading up to the event. And a lot of that, we weren't streamed or anything, that we kind of have to just take their word for it. But after kind of hearing what I heard pre-event, I mean, I came into that matchup thinking like, okay, that's kind of an interesting one, just because I do know that these two teams have played online, and I know that it hasn't gone the way that you kind of expect it to go. But end of the day, man, Reciprocity, I'd say, won that one pretty freaking easy too. And I think you could kind of tell once the first map ended against Mazer, Reciprocity hit their stride, hit their groove, and then, I mean, it was pretty smooth sailing through Friday and Saturday, and then we'll have to talk about their pretty shitty Sunday coming up. But at this point in the bracket, they were looking hot.
Yeah, Reciprocity.
Friday, they were good.
Mm-hmm. I say, up to that point on the bracket, Reciprocity was looking like a complete
Well, that was
180
Saturday night, technically.
to how we saw. Reciprocity was looking like a Mexico repeat in terms of how they were going to cruise to the winners bracket.
I mean, their first 2 days were, like I said, they didn't lose a single map, right? And outside of the Mazer one, I don't think any of their maps were very, very close that I can think of.
That's what Optic match pissed me off because they look good. They look better than Optic ending Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And
They
they
look better than Optic ending Saturday.
they beat Ghost pretty handedly too, from what I remember as well. I mean, obviously we saw the run that Ghost went on to do. So I mean, they all eyes were pointing towards like, okay, like we got some shit in our hands right here. Like we're in for something good. And again, we're still a couple rounds away from that, but. I guess Rec versus Fable. While if you put a gun to my head and told me to bet on it, like I'm taking Reciprocity in that matchup. Don't get me wrong, but it was, I guess, just a little less interesting than I would have probably hoped for.
Same, because of the storylines that was there. Icy God plays Kenny Icy,
Mm-hmm.
Kenny Fran, like Kenny Fran Soto, however you want to say it. Like it was just storylines that was there. That was so. Hey, it didn't work out for them.
And then the second round came, and then I know the world was so happy. Winter semis. Elevate gets to play Optic. Oh my God, they've played them so close in the past. Like this could be one of the teams that can do it, and they also just got beat the fuck up too. Like,
dude, every team up to this point, like, just got ass blasted, and it's just like that's almost been the tale of Optic, like all season long. And I was really hoping it was going to be different. I was really hoping up to this point.
I'll be honest. I was on the record.
I was gonna say I want teams in interviews just to start the interview and be like, Optic Gaming is the best team in the fucking game. Right here, whoop they ass. Just say it so you can get it off your chest, and you don't got that win on you. You ain't missing shots because you feel like you're choking or something like that. Like,
yeah, I mean, I was on the record saying that I didn't think it was going to be very close. I think that. I mean, like I said, they sort of played them close in the past, I guess, and they've taken maps some of them in the past. But I think that in the past, I know they beat them on like maps like Forge and stuff like that. So I guess like Forge being kind of out of the mix, I just didn't. I don't know, for some reason it didn't look right. I also don't think they were as good since the Mars changed in the first place. So I didn't think that was going to be as close as everyone else. I did think it would be a little closer than what we got. But
I thought they can do it, bro.
And I'm hearing that you're a little low right now, Blaze. Let me turn you.
I thought they can beat them. I thought they can beat them. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it didn't feel, like I said, it didn't feel right. Like especially after kind of seeing the last few events from Elevate. I guess I just didn't necessarily think that it was going to be the same form that we saw in the past. And again, like because Forge was no longer in the mix, I thought that was another thing that they sort of had a little bit of an edge on that obviously was eliminated. I'm turning Blaze up right now about 35%. Hopefully that helps.
I was, I kind of scooted away from my chair a little bit when I repositioned myself, because I was like slouching.
I will turn you down about 10% then from that, which at a cool 126.
All right, yeah, that'd be good.
But yeah, like
I speak with my chest.
I don't know. I said it before, and I can't really put my finger on what exactly it is, but just the team is still really good. Elevate is still a really phenomenal mechanically gifted team. Just ever since Marsh left or that debacle with Marsh, I just feel like they just haven't been the same, and they haven't been able to find their stride as a team since.
And I don't think that's Jack's fault either. So like what I was gonna say is like
I don't either.
A lot of times Jack gets the. It sounds bad when we say like they're worse since they got rid of Marsh because they got Jack. Like it's not Jack's fault. Like Jack plays really well. He has some really good maps. I just don't think that I don't think that to me it's like a role and a play style thing that I don't think that he fits the same role that Marsh did. I don't think that he was just as it just doesn't work as well. I don't. It's no one thing.
You can maintain like they showed us that they can. Thinking that's exactly what they did. They end up getting third again, probably at the time in which we expected them to probably get first afterwards, right? So Jack isn't the issue. Like you, Ryan, was you there for the conversation I had with Phelps like on Thursday night?
I
ran into him and Crazy outside.
No, I'm there.
No, I don't know. Fran, I think Fran was there.
Actually, no, I was there because we that was when we watched the movie.
Went to the movies, and I was just telling him, I was like, yo, you talk all this about winning, then go do it. You want to be an IGL, well, go do it.
And they get mad too. They also get mad when like if casters don't predict them to win the whole thing, or if like
that shit.
I'm saying
bro, like I watch what y'all do. Like y'all not showing me nothing different on that y'all actually want to win. Go out there and do it. So let me see why I thought they were so good going into that match. Every game I watched before, they were so slow, methodical. Like they'll cover home hills, push up to the halfway point, get the neutral, move in systematically, pick people off, go have a world star moment in the round. Like, they just kept beating up people, and they wasn't letting nobody get behind them. I was like, damn, y'all playing great, right? Phelps, he was out here like he was leading his troops, but then they got out here, and it felt like the players were waiting for some type of direction. They were waiting to be told what to do in certain moments. Like, nobody wanted to like own that map. Nobody wanted to go. Nobody like. They may have played some situations with confidence, but they didn't fully have confidence in that matchup. They couldn't have. Cause like you don't get 4 drop shots and play pussy. You don't. Like not if you think you're gonna win. Not if you know you're gonna win. You go out there and you win. You go get kills. You just shoot a drop, get a kill. Angle the next guy, shoot a drop, get a kill. Keep on going. Don't let nobody push you. Okay? That's like me being 7 foot and somebody 5 feet tall saying, yo, shut up.
They're trying to dunk on you.
Yeah, right? Like, don't let nobody touch you, man. Come on.
No, I mean, for me, like I said, it was great to see them back in the top 4. I think that, we're sounding harsh right now, but at the end of the day, like, this is in my eyes like a top 5. If you look at the whole landscape of Gears, they are a top 5 team. While I do think their ceiling, like you said, should be higher.
What does that say, though?
Right. No, I get it. So, again, at the end of the day, the title's over now, and it's going to be a new game. I think that, if depending on the mechanics of the new game, that could help. But going back to the original point, like,
that our skill gap is so drastically large within the top 5 or 6. That's why I said that.
Yeah, no, like I said, I mentioned on episode 1, the 2 teams I was looking out for the most to make a run were Elevate and Hive. And Elevate, did make a pretty good run. They said top 4 is still pretty good. Hive didn't make such a run, which was kind of unfortunate. But to me, I mean, at least it puts them back in the mix of kind of where I think they belong, at least. And again, at the end of the day, like, I agree with the narrative that they were a team that could be a potentially, good matchup for Optic, but it just didn't, like I said, feel right coming into this event. And again, I couldn't really put my finger on it. I think that you did a pretty good job kind of explaining it, Blaze, of just not, I guess, like, seizing the moment is probably the best thing. And that's kind of always the case against Optic in the first place. Teams just don't seize the moment.
At some point, you just got to play Gears of War. You got to get objectives, get kills, get more objectives, and leave it at that. You can't let somebody's name, stop you from playing Gears of War.
Yeah, one thing why one things we picked up Powers for, and that we saw with him early on, is like Powers truly respects nobody. He does not care what your gamer tag is. He doesn't respect what you've done, who you've been. So I always get asked in my stream, like, if you had to build a team that could beat Optic, that aren't Optic members, who would it be, right? And like, well, shit, like, for one, that's really hard to do in the first place, but the core of it, except Powers is a guy who has to be on that team because he's one of the few people in this whole video game who do not respect the guys that wear green jerseys and gold chains, right? Like that, he just has that inherent like mentality about him, and so I think that that's super, super important. And then, like, I know with my old teams, like, we got over it and things got closer, but we used to have a mental block against them too back in the Envy days, and there became a turning point where we finally got over it. But like, that shit's real, man. Like, people for some reason cower when they see fucking Billy and the shirtless character on the map or something like that. Like,
yo, when y'all start making teams for Gears 5, you gotta ask yourself, what type of real qualities do you want in a teammate? Do you want somebody like, are you looking for just in-game qualities, or are you looking for some out-of-game qualities as well? It's probably a mixture of the two, because you need some maturity in there. Like, you need somebody that got some, like, you just need some maturity in there, okay, to be able to go out there and beat somebody. If not, you're gonna be working twice as hard. Don't work twice as hard. It starts with finding your duo. It starts with building the team. All right. Make sure you got somebody that's as nerdy as you. If you like to just fuck around and sit on Xbox and waste your time for 12 hours a day and not really get better, okay, and just get headaches and shit and drink Mountain Dew, then find other teammates who do that, and y'all gonna have a good time. But don't waste your time.
As coming from being a coach, and Ryan, I know you could speak on this as well, right? You take everything all these players say they're doing, right? VOD, strats, getting on early, right? And you off rip, you minus 25% of that, and that's maybe what they're actually doing. Off rip, all this talk means absolutely nothing, because I've been involved and I've helped coaches. I've talked to different coaches. I've talked to different players on teams, and you know what the common thing is? They're all frustrated. Why? Because nobody has a good fucking work ethic, right? And if that's a part of every team, I don't hear from Optic too much, but Optic doesn't really have to play because they play the game at such a good level right now.
Barbosa said it well. And sometimes that he wished that Gears players had to work a little bit more for what they had. I'm just
Yep.
saying.
It's
Yeah.
just no one understands what it's like to really, really, really work to try and win.
I mean, I said it
You
earlier.
need to lose this shit for a year.
Like me,
let's just
if you
lose
give
this
me
shit
full
for a
reins.
year.
Yep.
Let's lose it for a year, right?
I mean, we said it.
And
I said it
Like,
earlier. Like
when
the,
they come back, people will be making content.
the
Those videos will be there.
Oh,
They
don't-
was struggling trying to
don't-
play Fortnite.
don't get me and Jacob started on the content thing. We might. Oh, don't.
Oh
Yeah,
my God.
we can get into that. But no, like I said, man, the proof was in the pudding, man. Like I said, the community saw such a good example of it in Mexico. And again, I know they fell up short. I know that they had a horrible grand final. But again, like that was a proof that like if you put in that level of work, you can and will see that level of results. Reciprocity looked so much better than absolutely everyone else except for Optic, and even then they still beat that team in a series, right? So like that again is actual proof that if you put in work, it can work. Like if you put in the work, it can work. That sounds kind of stupid, but like the base of it is still right. So
Hey, you know what? It's a new game. Hopefully, new game energy is out there. I know, like, I don't know how, like, I don't know at what point players will be able to play Gears 5 when E-League comes out. But I know whenever that time comes, I will be in that mix, and I will be there when people are coming up with strategies for the first time. Because I need people to like get some shit. I'm like, yo, who want my expert opinion?
yo,
please?
another good
Can I be
example.
somebody's coach for a weekend?
Speaking of new games, like before, this is way back before, and this is before we even had a lot of money. Before UE came out, our team at the time was, and I wasn't even with them at the time, but the team was Fran, Soto, Praise, and Kenny. And like Soto and Kenny like hadn't played Gears 1 like that. Like they hadn't played Gears 1 like that. So you know what they did that whole fucking time before UE came out is they got back on Gears 1 and grinded the absolute shit out of it so that Soto and Kenny and them could learn the maps, that they could learn the mechanics better, and they could do all that shit that they didn't really know. Praise had played, Gal 1 a lot, and obviously Fran did, so like they were good. But I especially remember Kenny and Soto like who needed it the most. And you asked Fran when they first got on it, they were ass at the game, right? Like they're like, wait, I can't move off the wall. What am I doing? All this shit, right? But that month was so hot. And you remember when the game first came out, I mean, a little biased, but like we were the better team in the beginning, right? We were the better team at UE when it came out. And the Optic guys might even admit that too. Like we were the better team when
y'all won the hype.
right, and like I said, and we had a couple massive chokes in the beginning events too. Like, so like we felt like we were the better team, right? And that a lot, so much of that was attributed to the fact that like they grinded the shit out of that game in preparation. So again, we could keep harping on it, but you don't put the work in, you won't see the results. But jump back to champ bracket, like I said, that was the Optic versus Elevate match. The other match was the Rec versus Ghost. I mean, not a ton to talk about, man. Honestly, Rec kind of beat him up.
Yeah,
I think
we end up having to talk about
yeah,
it again.
right. The big thing, I mean, like we sort of even touched on, was the fact that winners finals did not look like, I won't say like we expected, because I don't think anyone expected Rec to beat them, but it did not look like what we had hoped for because of the last winners finals in Mexico, right? You got to keep in mind the prior matchup. Also keep in mind like the anger that I'm sure Reciprocity had towards Optic for doing what they did to them in the finals of Mexico too, because no way around it. That shit was absolutely embarrassing. Like that was embarrassing. To go 0-4 like that, and the icing on the cake was that they did it on, and they did it on.
Talking that shit.
Well, they threw a curveball, let Forge through. Rec picked Forge. Optic was auto banning Forge, and then Optic beat the fuck out of them on Forge. Like that was embarrassing, right? So like you just came into that winners finals thinking that you're gonna get a dogfight, right? Thinking you're gonna get a fucking matchup, and I mean, don't get me wrong, the map picks to me were pretty poor in Reciprocity's favor, and I talked to them after, and they gave me their reasoning for it, but I still think it was a really, really, really bad map pick. And even me and Gilbert were laughing about it in the lobby on Sunday night, how the fact that anyone in the world would have the audacity to do what they did, but it happened that way, and again, because of it, they got absolutely kind of torched. I mean, I don't know, I guess, is there anything you guys want to talk about real quick on that winners finals before we move on to losers? It was disappointing. End of the day, it was just straight up disappointing.
I want to forget about it.
Just because it was just bad. It almost like Optic. This event almost reminded me when they first warmed in New Orleans. They literally just smothered everybody in NOLA. They literally just smothered everybody. It was barely competitive, and it's just.
And look at that whole winners bracket. If you look at it, man, like just looking across the board, like Optic Rise 2-0, Elevate Lux 2-0, Ghost Simplicity 2-0, Rec Fable 2-0, Rec Ghost 2-0, Optic, like the whole left side of the bracket was not what was close. Literally,
Nothing.
find me a matchup there
Not,
that
even, not even on paper. Like you got to look at probably like that's the one thing about escalation is just that there's so many 2-0s. Like it don't even get time to get competitive. You know what I'm saying? Like after you get through map one, you gotta look and see how close map one is and really tell if it was a competitive series or not because some teams fucking choke so hard.
like I said, there's just no. Like, I'm just looking at it like looking back at all these matches, just nothing was close. And then obviously we got a little bit of that change in losers bracket. So I mean, first round we saw Cyclone, I believe it was, take out Fire and Ice. Choche the King, a member of at least my man Choche won a championship a couple weeks ago with Team Ryan. So I'm gonna give him that, hang his hat on that. He a champion in that sense.
All-star champion.
Big shout, big shout to the King. And then, I mean, I think honestly, nothing on our end will heat up a ton until maybe that kind of second round. I mean, I think the biggest sort of marquee matchup there would be I guess either the FYC Nemesis or maybe the Mazer versus Denial one, just because again we've seen those Denial guys sort of in and out of the mix of good teams, and so Mazer 2-0ing them still isn't a huge surprise to me. I think the real heat came in losers round 3, and I think that we'll start with I didn't get to watch it, but it was apparently like the craziest match of the weekend. Hopefully one of you guys get to see it, which was Fable versus Hive.
Oh yeah, no, me, Blaze, we definitely saw that.
I'm gonna throw it to you guys. This is y'all.
Tiebreaker map. I've seen it a lot.
I ain't gonna lie, I was loud because I got there Dirty One. Because Dirty One was rooting for Hive, so I was like, bet automatically I'm rooting for Fable and Kenny. Shit, let's do it. Dirty One said something, I said something, and it was such a good game.
It really was.
And then so like, and even when the game was over, she she had said something where she was like, y'all should be ashamed of yourselves. It was Noe's first event. Granted, I don't know how serious she was with that, but like, Noe should be happy to have such a fucking crazy first event where everybody watched, to have that experience where people stayed after everything was closed to watch y'all match, for it to be that exciting, for you to clutch so much up in that series. Like, yo, that is a dope cherry popper. All right, that is a great way to intro into the scene, and that's a good time. Shit, I be telling stories about that one time. I'm old, like, yo, man, my first event, Boston. Yeah.
I'm so mad it really wasn't on stream though, because I'm thinking of moments in that match of how back and forth it was. I remember it was like 6-5. Kenny's team's obviously up. They get drop shot. Kenny literally kills 3 people with the drop shot. I blink, his entire team is dead. I'm like, how the hell did they lose that round? And it came down to like the beginning of these rounds. It was so close. It was so evenly matched. Literally, the neutral hill wasn't really fought or even played for until each team had 40 to 50 points already tallied up. These guys weren't really making moves. They were really trying to fill each other out. This was literally intense Gears of War. And like Blaze said, no, we should be proud to be a part of something like that. All of those guys.
It really was. I was like watching that match. I was so, it was like defined. Both teams clearly had their play style. And what was special was that both their play styles was winning it. Like the rounds that Hive was winning towards the later end was off muscle and heart alone of them saying that we not losing. And then the way that Fable came back in those situations was because they had experience. You could tell that they had vets and they knew when to slow the game down to stop all that heart that was on the other end. So it was a back and forth tug of war between brains versus bronze, and I was just like, yeah, that shit's dope. That's why
I think the difference maker when you look at that matchup is going to be that I think it's fair to say that Hive outright has the better mechanical skill between the two teams, but like I said, Fable had the veteran leadership, right? They had the experience that Hive just doesn't have yet because they're so young, and so it's not like I unfortunately didn't get to watch this match. So I really wanted to make sure I let you guys kind of walk through it because it sounded like it was absolutely insane. And I mean, like I said, that just shows kind of at that point at this level, like the experience can be really, really important. And like I said, these guys have nothing. They should not be looking down. They should be holding their head high. Like I said, they're the future of Gears, and like I said, that was Noe's event. It can't wait to see kind of his career continue to flourish. I mean, I was talking to Praise about him. He said that's just one of those kids who you can kind of tell when there's like a special talent in front of you, and he has that same kind of feel that players like Powers and them did. So, like I said, I had them.
Those the players I wish I could be like, get on my team. You know? Like,
also, one thing to keep there too. That was Toady playing against his old boys too. Don't forget that.
Yeah.
That team dropped. That team dropped Toady.
I didn't even register that. I didn't register that during the game, and it was still that good. Like it just became even.
What were the maps? I'm guessing Fable picked Diner because Fable was leaning on Diner a lot.
Diner and Lift was the last two. I don't know what was the first one.
Yeah, I wasn't there for the first map.
Whatever it was, Hive won it though.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
I just know like that Noe kid, like you mentioned, like he's like a Powers. If you get him with a good IGL that can break down the game, similar to the way Franchise was doing with Powers, oh my god! I've said it for a while because I love that kid the way he trolls, but after actually watching him play, he has a bright future. Like I said, he just needs to like develop like his. I'm trying to put this as nice as possible because I like him so much. Otherwise, I wouldn't care. But if he just develop his deeper thinking skills and just really using that, like his full brain mixed with his skill, that kid's gonna.
The biggest thing for Powers, like when we pick, I'll give you the example when we pick up Powers because everyone just thinks that we just sprout him out of the earth, threw him into New Orleans, Louisiana, and he was just a god, right? Like there was a process to get Powers to where he was, right? Like you got to keep in mind, like the biggest thing with him over time was just getting repetitions in because a lot of these guys, Noe included, hadn't been on structured teams before, right? And so they hadn't been in those situations where you're playing these competitive matchups, you're playing against the best in the world in an organized environment, right? Not just an environment of wagers, not an environment of GBs or pickup scrims or subbing in for someone. Like being on a truly organized team with strategy and with having your own set spots and all these different things to think about, mid-round rotations, all smoke placements, all these things people don't think about. And so for us, it was a process. Like the Powers we picked up is not the Powers you have today, right? Getting those repetitions in, the more we would play with him, the more we would teach him, the more he would learn to discipline himself, discipline his play style, and to learn these situations that you're going to be in a competitive environment is so key. And so I think the more Noe, Exovius, whatever you want to call him, the more he plays and the more he gets those reps in an organized environment, the better. And I agree with you guys. I think that he needs a veteran or a more experienced IGL for sure. But I mean, he's also playing at the same time with a bunch of guys who are going to learn also, and they will develop an IGL in that mix somehow too. Because that again, that is those kids are the future.
They can all become IG.
Right. Those are the future stars of Gears right there.
I always just say a little bit of extra maturity because I cannot like just based off Gears 4 season, the last 2 seasons have been pretty dope. But even just kicking off the summer with E-League and then whatever's in store for the future, like you need to be prepared for that. You need to have teammates to go through all that with. You need some maturity there to have the stamina to build that chemistry and build a dynasty type of a roster. You know what I'm saying? So be careful on who you choose as your teammates. Stop picking temporary teammates. Okay? Stop that shit. All right? Choose wisely who you want to be shooting next to. Choose wisely when it's time to scrim who gonna be online, who you want watching your 6, who you want next to you on that stage, who can you trust? Like, come on, choose your teammates wisely. Fuck whatever pro points they had before.
Yeah, they played through open. I played through open.
Yeah, just get people you trust. That's the general message to everybody. Just get with people you trust.
Definitely so. Looking back at the bracket, like I said, that losers 3 is sort of where things kind of heated up. I think the next, probably most marquee matchup I would say of that round 3 would be Mazer versus Simplicity. Only because, like I said, Simplicity, don't forget, got top 4 at our last event. And they looked bad online before the last event too, and they came up, showed up to LAN, and got top 4. So I think to me, while Mazer looked like the better team coming to the event, Simplicity was still a team that by no means, if they had won that match, you were surprised, right? These are kids who have been in grand finals. These are players who have been there before, been playing together a while, but they did end up falling 2-0 to Mazer, and that's when you started to think, okay, like maybe Mazer is bouncing back the right way. I mean, did you guys get a chance to kind of watch this match or sort of have any thoughts on that matchup?
I did not, except for kind of the last half of the last map. I just remember seeing 2 different rounds for sure. Rodney picking up grenades, everything looks sweet, but then just people were dying kind of out of position. He didn't really get to use the nades. Then he's the last one alive. He kind of has to use the nades to keep himself alive. It just doesn't work, and they lose those rounds. So it's like I feel like
that team didn't want to be together.
Yeah, something similar to that. Something wasn't working with them. I can't really tell what it was because like if they're not playing good up to online and they somehow play together on LAN, I can understand why they would keep that roster together and not make changes. Plus, what everyone else would say about them, like you guys can't stick together.
That's what happens when that's the roster you get when his name's involved, right? Like when his name's involved in those situations. I looked at you on the screen, yo. When you looked alert as shit for whatever reason. I
Who,
don't know
me?
why. Yeah, you did.
Yeah, I'm like trying to multitask.
But no, that's like when you playing with names on the screen or whatever. Now you don't really want to be next to who you with. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like that's what you get. You get an environment like that, and it's just like, all right, why are we all here? You have to not be like, if you have to like just quit and go play with a team in open bracket, just to have a good experience, then go for it, right? Rather than hating who you next to, you gotta reperceive. You gotta change your perception, man, about how y'all doing things. Like, go back and remake a different formula.
And
Create a new way.
don't forget this team, like, what was it, 2 weeks before the event or something like that, made like it was a short lived, but like a team change too, where it was like Kyle and Rodney had split from the other three too, and the other three were trying to figure out what they were doing. Kyle and Rodney were trying to figure out what they were doing. No, everyone thought it was April Fool's, and it like wasn't.
It happened April 1st, for real. It was for real.
It did, but it
Yeah,
actually
that's why
wasn't.
I thought it was April Fool's.
Yeah.
They even told me after the event, it's like, yo, we got dropped. I was like, what?
Yeah, like they actually broke up, and
What?
they figured it out, but just, again, something was in the water with those boys, and again, I mean,
Still,
again, like still a team that should be showing up better than they did, but I
they've
mean,
been like a top 3, top 4 team this whole season.
man, they was
And then, like,
they was
they
flipping
just-
coins for maps though. It was bad. Like something was
It's
not.
like how did they get to that point though, right? That's
Yeah.
what I'm saying, is that they're that good. How did they get to that point? And then, but they're still good enough just to beat some of these other teams, though. But you can say that you put that team in open bracket, would they make it out? You know, yeah, that's probably a team that needs to
question.
go through open bracket.
I'd say
Yeah.
probably. And then, okay, so we'll kind of move on. I guess looking at the bottom side of that bracket, I mean, not a ton to look at. The top side of losers was 10 times more stacked than the bottom side, I think. I mean, like I said, like if you look at kind of Nemesis's run, they got to play Gorilla Gang, who was Birdies, and then like pickup team and open, and they played FYC and then Lux to the path to top 8. So not necessarily the toughest path to get there. And on the flip side, Hydra was placed directly into losers 2 from getting third in their pool, and then they beat, I think it was Horus, I think they're called.
Yeah, Horus.
and then-
Sports. They also beat him in Mexico.
Yeah, and then they ended up playing Rise, and I mean, I think it was pretty obvious that's where Hydra's run was going to end there. And so kind of that set up our final sort of top 8, and then that gives us, the Sunday matchups that we got. And the first one that I had the pleasure of being a part of was the Fable Mazer match. Had an excellent map number 2 on Old Town. It was got very, very close, and that was the match where Soto gave his very, very passionate speech. The speech that I would say was
when they busted none of the losers round 3.
yeah, that speech was, I think, most comparable to Prey's speech in New Orleans, which I'll tell you guys right now, man, oh man, was it way more entertaining to hear that speech and not be on the ass end of getting that speech. So that was great to see. So
It was a good speech.
Yeah,
it was
so,
real, though. That was real.
But,
You know what I'm
but,
saying?
but that was definitely, I mean, a good matchup, I guess. You look at that Fable Mazer thing online. I mean, they gone kind of back and forth. I mean, did that go how either you guys went, or did you guys? I guess my question: were either of you Mazer believers coming into that match?
No.
No, not
No.
really.
I know y'all both funky bunch, so you're all programmed to say Kenny's gonna win. But
still, I didn't see it in Mazer though. You know what I'm saying?
yep, yeah. I mean,
Well, actually, I would say that morning was one of the first times I really had on, to do anything. And I know that they could do some stuff on. They got talented players on that squad, but it wasn't about that life.
the reason I was intrigued this event is because we talk about, obviously the X factor of them for me was Crushmo. And Crushmo can be one of the best players in the world, but he only goes as far as he lets himself go sometimes, and it's always about what version of Crushmo shows up that day. And this weekend, the version of Crushmo showed up that was good. Like we saw the version of Crushmo that we like. He didn't do any of the shutdown stuff or any of the let his emotions get him. Like
It's 2019.
he was
got to do a coin flip on Crushmo.
That's what I'm saying is you got the good side of the coin this one, so that's what gave me some little, I was a little intrigued by it. Did the results surprise me? I don't think so. I mean, I sort of pegged those teams at kind of a similar level coming into this, but when you look at those guys, I mean, like the narrative I was talking about in the desk was like with this core of like Hezi exclusive, Mortifies, all these guys, they always are, again, so strong on Friday, Saturday, never materializes on Sunday. And then on the flip side, you have players who've won championships, right? You have players who've been playing on Sundays and performing on Sundays for multiple titles now. And so I think that to me was the biggest, I guess, difference maker, because again, it was pretty close, but Fable did kind of edge him out, and was definitely for me a great way to kind of start off Championship Sunday, because we got I said a pretty cool Championship Sunday. We'll jump back to the bracket. And the flip side of that being Rise Nemesis, we knew it was going to happen there, right? That was Nemesis's run. It was over. They beat him pretty easy in pools. They beat him despite the infraction on Powers Ready, so you knew what that was going to be. And then here we were in our kind of top 6, which, interesting enough, we saw so many rematches there, right? You saw the Rise Nemesis rematch, and then you saw the Ghost Rise rematch, and then you saw the Elevate Fable rematch.
I will say that the top half of that loser bracket is so tough, man.
Yeah, compared to the bottom, it's just not okay.
Like Cyclone, I thought.
Like, no offense, you had Rise, Nemesis, Ghost compared to Fable, Mazer, Elevate.
Yeah, but look at the time where Rise and Ghost enter the bracket, right? So look back farther rounds back, right? You got
no,
Hive.
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, you have like Hive, Mazer.
You have to.
Oh yeah.
Losers round 3, you still have Simplicity, Mazer, Fable, Hive. Hive is still really good.
Even before that, like
even
Denial,
Mazer.
Mazer.
Back to
like,
losers round 2.
Yeah, so the top half was definitely on the more stacked end, but we got our rematches, but man, I think that in the loser semis, neither rematch really went much different. I think the only thing was obviously that Ghost 2-0'd Rise instead of the 2-1 they had in pools, but that was just because they fixed their map picks. They didn't make the worst map pick in history.
There's a little bit more than that. I was actually talking to Danny and Chaos Saturday night when I was watching the Fable Hive match as well. And
hold on. I'll cut you off real quick. This was the second worst map pick though ever, because Rise, who 7-2'd Ghost, Rise. I'm getting the cameras back on for this one. Hold on.
I know. I already know what map they picked. Yeah.
Hold on. So I was roasting the Rise, the Ghost pick against Rise. So I'm like, all right. So then Ghost goes ahead and picks it up, right? Does better maps, and then Rise does not pick Foundation against the Ghost team that they 7-2'd on Foundation. Bro,
they picked Diner instead.
They picked Diner instead,
God.
and I'm pretty sure when I looked over at their other match against like Nemesis, it was like close against Nemesis. Like,
Nemesis
whose
lost that for themselves. That's what I was talking about. Nemesis was so set on their super aggressive playstyle. On the first half of Diner, it ended up being very, very passive. There was no big weapons down, maybe a sniper, nades at most. And then Nemesis won it 4-2, right? And then as soon as Nemesis got smacked and they had to place their first weapon down, they put the drop shot down, they put the boom shot down, and could not really win since then. So to me, that says they were so programmed in their head, we need to throw this boom shot down, we need to get in their face, that they did that anyway when they won playing a different playstyle, that they just could kind of threw their own gameplay away. And to me, that's something like you need to be able to adapt on the fly. And I'm going to go bring that into when you guys are looking for teammates in your new Gears of War, like Blade said, all those qualities you need to get into. Y'all need to pick up a coach that's going to hold you guys accountable. And to me, that means you guys as players need to give your coach a little bit more power, right? You guys pick up coaches and you guys basically treat them as your employee. They're doing what you say, this, that, you make them get a drink. No, you need to give them power. You need to give them responsibilities, and they need to hold you guys as players accountable.
Yeah, and they need, and shit, y'all need to, as a man, you should, thrive to have some responsibility in your life. You need to lean into that shit, okay? You want to lead some troops. These are some great habits to take on when you do some other shit in life, because this might not last forever for all of y'all, because y'all not showing those habits now. I ain't gonna go there though, because I'm gonna come for somebody's soul. Y'all be sweating all night about Gears 5, talk about making journals and shit, Blaze.
I mean, maybe we could do a future episode and kind of center it around these sort of, I guess, intangible parts of Gears, right? Intangible parts of finding teammates, of composing a team, things that aren't just about reaction shot up Aing, right? Like the important things that put you in the right place to reaction shot up A.
Like how to I'm down to get super nerdy about like how to even properly practice. I'm down for us to even try to come up with a blueprint,
like a schedule,
give the people. But like, hey, you make a schedule. Here, you start tracking your scores down. Start taking notes on the fucking map. Like, start who was slacking? Why did y'all lose? Like, shit, make a spreadsheet to get these people just to type in while they screaming. Go grab your laptop and put that shit in at the end of the map.
Rule number 1: wake up before 6:57 p.m. Can we start there? But I digress. Well, let's talk offline about something like that, because I think that would be fun, and I think that'd be useful. But
let's fly through the rest of these losers.
Yeah, Jacob, I know that, like I said, you wanted to mention a little something about the Ghost thing. Like I said, they were the better team. Like, they were the better team.
Yeah, okay, so they were the better team, but they were trying to figure out why they had lost the way they had lost, and I was saying, like realistically, I don't understand what you guys are saying when it comes to the game because I don't speak Spanish. But I think because this is my theory and this is what I told them, because of how your pool play went, except for one map against Rise, and then you look at the beginning when they went up against Simplicity, right, and then they go up against Reciprocity. They were so high on confidence and just realistically they could do whatever they want that they got smacked in the face and they couldn't recover in time. So going into that next couple or the next day, the next set of matches, and like I said on Sunday, they kind of knew we got to tighten up our game, and we can't let these guys run away with it. No matter who we're playing against, it doesn't matter. We need to play our game and put the foot around their necks and choke them out. And Danny kind of understood what I was saying. Chaos agreed, like, okay, maybe it was a little bit too easy. Maybe we weren't talking and their communication was off because it was too easy in those earlier matches, and that tends to happen. A lot of these teams will sleep on these earlier teams, and they set themselves up for bad habits. So when they play these harder teams, they have a rough start, and that kind of puts them in the hole for the rest of the match.
Yeah, no, for
That's
sure.
just my theory. Danny seemed to agree with me, but so that was just my theory though going into it, and I kind of let him know, like, you guys, especially tournament time, come tournament time, you guys got to play. You guys got to play, a team with me on it the same as if you're going to play a team with Optic on it, because
you got to keep that same intensity. You can't be wishy-washy based off who you're playing, but you also have to practice that same consistency online to the fullest extent, because if you can master that and you take that to an event, you are in a good position. It doesn't matter who you play. Optic has that same consistency because it looks like they play the same person every fucking time, right?
Yep.
They mastered that consistency. They
Yep.
can play Reciprocity and play FYC, and they can look the exact same.
Yep.
All right. So like, it's something that they got there. At the end of the day, you got to hit shots, but this is a certain amount of gears knowledge where a player has a culture, like a player. It's so we can talk about culture and play styles. I won't go too deep into it because there is culture and play styles and mindsets where that you're gonna go load into a map and say, okay, I'm gonna go out here and try not to fuck up. All right. Or I can go out here and I'm going to take over. Like, I'm going to go out here and take over and not take part. I'm going to go out here and try to be the best teammate that I can be and make these plays for my squad. And then I'm going to just go out here and just try to, fucking survive. Shit,
And I think, Jacob, I mean, all that being said, I mean, whatever the case was, whether it's what you talked to them about, whatever it was, I mean, it worked because they looked very, very strong on Sunday. I think the biggest telling tale, I mean, they beat Elevate in the round to get top 3, which again, not a super surprising result to me based on the way Ghost looked and the way Elevate looked. But to me, I think the big thing to talk about in losers is the Reciprocity versus Ghost matchup. And like I said, I got some bad vibe. We talk about the vibes and the deaths, right? I got some weird vibes from the Reciprocity team. I didn't like the body language. I didn't like how they looked against Optic. And for me, I mean, I talked about it. I had to go against what my heart tells me. Now, me and Fran are like best buds, right? I had to go against my heart. And I actually predicted against Reciprocity, right? I was like, look, like straight up, like feelings aside, all the bullshit aside, like Ghost looks really, really good today, and Rec looks really, really bad today. And it was worse than I thought, and it was worse than I expected. It was a clean 2-0, right? Ghost hadn't lost a map that day. Rec hadn't won a map that day, right? And so things were not looking good, and Ghost kind of, I mean, while it wasn't a super blowout, Ghost beat him pretty handily, man. Like it by no means I look at that match and think that like, man, like this is Rex got this or Rec could do this. Like it just looked like one of those things where like, all right, like when's the shit gonna be over? So Optic and Ghost get to play.
Mm-hmm.
And so again, like it was weird to me just because it was a tale of 2 days for Reciprocity, just because they said they looked so strong on Saturday. They kind of beat the shit out of Ghost on Saturday too, right? So it was like it was one of those things where like you just one team bounced back and one team simply didn't. And don't forget, like that was also this Reciprocity team had never played through losers bracket before. In Mexico City, their only event together, they went all the way through winners to finals, right? They didn't have that losers bracket experience of getting hit in the mouth, having to go ahead and plug that shit right back in and keep it going, right? All they knew was how to sit in the finals as a team. I mean, I know those players did know that, right? But still, like you got to go through some shit as a team sometimes, right? And so, to me, that set up the finals, which, despite how good Ghost looked, man, I think we all knew what time it was, right? Like, it just, one of those things that after seeing Optic the whole time, you knew it was Clap City, let's get it over with, get to the bar, take our picture, and it's Game of Thrones time, baby. Like, I think that's kind of what everyone knew what it was going to be, and that's kind of how it was. And I don't know. I don't even know if y'all what y'all even got on it. Like, I don't know what there even is to say on it, man. Like,
so, you know what, for me, it's not much to say, like, they practiced their hearts out leading up into this event. All their preparation was to beat Optic. Then they got up there and got 14 to forward or some shit like that.
Yep.
That was it, right? At that
Yeah.
point, it's just like, does anything else matter at the event? I'm happy they did lose because it was easier for me to cast Ghost versus Optic because we saw them for the first time rather than Wreck versus Optic because
Yep.
it would have been hard for me on 2 maps to try to explain what the fuck is going on and why they can't beat them. Then I gotta go into my psychology. It's like, yo, they didn't eat good or they don't like each other. I don't know, like, cause it ain't. I can only say so much about somebody missing shots,
Yeah.
No, definitely.
And it just sucks the way it like turns out, and I'm not saying it sucks because I don't like these players on Optic, but I mean, God, it just sucks that you have one team that is like here, and then you have a couple teams that are like, kind of here, and then you got everybody else that is just
Yeah, I mean,
not even
it's still
in the picture.
for me. It's still like, and this is gonna sound weird. It's still kind of new. Like them winning is like a new experience to me now since I stopped coaching. Just because I've been conditioned to like despise them, hate them, want to beat them more than anything. Like not appreciate when they win. Like I've been conditioned to just not appreciate it, and so getting to watch them now, taking a step back as like Death's talent and as an analyst especially, to get to watch them at work, to me it's still very new to me. To me, like in my eyes, this isn't like their 13th out of 15 event, right? To me, like this is like they're only like their third win or so to me. And so like I still love watching it sometimes because I get to appreciate it in a different way that I didn't used to appreciate it. I used to hate it, right? I used to stay up at night thinking about it. It used to kill me, right? So now I get to like watch it at work. Like, damn, man, like these kids are something, man. The plays they make, the things they do together, the shit Gilbert does, like it's special. And so, at the end of the day, man, we finished Gears 4 with a bang, and we have an awesome future ahead, kind of with Gears 5, man. I think that. We're only going up. I think obviously the E-League thing is massive, and it's going to keep everyone's spirits really, really high. We get a new game soon. I mean, we haven't got that feeling in how long, man? Like Call of Duty gets that shit every year, man. Every year Call of Duty gets that shit to look forward to, where they know they get some new shit to play, some new shit to scrim, new mechanics to learn. Like, so I mean, we haven't felt that shit in a while. So I mean, like I said, man, to just quickly kind of reflect on the season of the game, man. It's been life changing to me, man. I'll tell you that much. The Gears Pro Circuit has been something that changed my life in a super positive way. I'm sure you guys feel the same way, and it's just crazy to think that it's the book of Gears 4 is closed, and now we have a new book to open up soon.
Yeah, it really hasn't like hit me yet this week because tomorrow's Wednesday.
Right.
I typically don't have fight nights.
Today's
next week.
Wednesday.
Oh,
That's
shit.
how you know it.
Yo, Blaze is lit.
Yo, you're right. Today is Wednesday. Yo, oh my god, I get to watch the challenge tonight. So I actually got the challenge and I got one punch to watch tonight. I actually
like a birthday
have a good night tonight. Shit, I'm gonna have a good one. As soon as I get off this, I'm about to cook me some salmon, grab my yoga mat, and go to town.
There you go.
He's so happy.
But
you walked in my house and I wasn't here. You think white woman?
well, I think that's as probably good of a way as ever to end our Boston and Gears 4 recap. Thank you to both, obviously, so much for joining us. Obviously, Jacob, I know you and I do this every week, but Blaze, thank you so much for kind of joining us. You got any last words you want to see? This is not by any means the last we're going to see of you. You and I have already been talking about some shit we're going to bring you on for, so the best is yet to come. We got, again, as you guys know in the chat, man, I'm committing myself to putting out as much content as I can for our community, for this game. I'm going to try and keep it fresh. I know it's tough sometimes with there being no more events, no more 2Ks, no more fight nights. Like, that's okay. Like, we're taking the challenge head on, and we're going to keep trying, man. We're going to keep bringing stuff out, and hopefully you guys kind of stick around for it too. But I guess, Blaze, got any kind of closing thoughts for the night or for the day or for the season or throw whatever you got at me?
Yo, man. Hey, guys. I appreciate y'all for, Boston. I think the most important thing is that support your Gears community when they're making content. I think that's everything. I said this a little bit about it before, but when it comes down to, it's dope for us all to have a good gaming experience. Hop on Xbox Live, got something to do. We all love Gears of War, so let's make Gears esports and just Gears of War as a whole one of the best communities ever, and where people want to come to and want to be a part of. Right? Like, let's just build this castle into the greatest castle ever, rather than considering going over to different castles and trying to fit in elsewhere. Like, this is our home. We've been playing it for years. You know, we got a few bad apples, but outside of them, this is a great place. And more people are starting to notice that. They're starting to realize how different we are, how unique we are. So, hey, just know that the eyes are on us and make Gears of War what you want it to be. You know,
Very well
this is
said.
what you make it. This is what you make it.
Very well said. Jacob, do you have any kind of closing thoughts as we wrap up episode 2 of our Caster's Curse journey?
I mean, I just kind of go off what Blaze said. Is just we're right off of Boston. Yeah, y'all can. It's okay to take a break right now, and when I say
Yeah.
take a break, you know,
Get
you
your life
have
together.
fun, enjoy your other games, but make sure you guys are setting yourself up with a game plan for the future. Who you gonna team with, but make sure you guys know why you are teaming with these people. Don't just team with them because they're friends. Make sure you're bringing something to the table. Make sure they're bringing something to the table as well as individuals, as people, and as teammates. Make sure you guys get that coach in there. Like I said, somebody that's gonna hold you guys accountable as people, as teammates as well, and just make sure you guys are practicing perfect because just practicing ain't enough.
Hey, and not even just in-game practicing. Don't forget about the out-of-game shit,
Yeah.
okay? Make sure your finances right. Make sure your mind right. Your nutrition is good. You ain't got no negative energy in your life. Because you won't win a championship with that either. All right? So it's not just in-game stuff that y'all gotta do. Take this time to take care of everything out the game as
Yep.
well. And get yourself in a good position. Set yourself up so you can really have a clear mind for your next grind. Okay, I'm done. I'm done for real now.
I like it. I like it. Well, I guess kind of my closing thoughts. I guess, like I said, guys, thank you again so much for stopping by tonight. Thank you so much for all of the support that you have been showing. It was an amazing Boston event. I had a blast in the desk personally. I know that Jacob and Blaze did as well. It was a great time with the talent team, and we got some great matches. But like anything, man, I appreciate y'all. This is going to be, I said this is episode 2. We got episode 3. I'm hoping next week. I know Blaze, you and I spoke about a pretty cool idea in Boston that I want us to get going pretty soon. So as always, you know what it is. Hashtag free burger. We got to free the mans. We need him back at an event, and that'll do it for episode 2 of the Caster's Curse.